Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. I'm Dana Cowley and today we're covering the Washington State Legislature in the beautiful Capitol Stateroom. My guest is Brian Hatfield. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
He's the senator from the 19th District and he is part of the so-called Roadkill Caucus. How did you come to this name?
Well, it comes from an old political adage. The only thing you find in the middle of the road are yellow lines and dead skunks. And so we didn't want to call ourselves the Dead Skunk Caucus, so we came up with Roadkill. I think a few folks are regretting we came up with that name, but it certainly stuck. The press loves it. And it's accurate. I mean, it's where we are. And sometimes we do get run over in the political process. And so the idea of a group of legislators, House, Senate, mostly Democrats. There's a few Republicans that we talk to as well, though, that are, what I guess would be defined as liberal Republicans, but middle of the roaders, kind of trying to stand up. It's hard for moderates to really unite around, any one issue. You take the abortion issue and very strong visceral feelings, pro-choice and pro-life, and that tends to unite groups. In the middle of the spectrum, you don't really have a lot of those things. I always say that the one thing that does bring us together is good government and compromise, trying to do the best thing for the most people of the state. So that's what keeps us together anyway.
The compromise is such a popular term with the public these days. I mean, the average voter is alienated with all the divisive behavior between parties.
It's popular with the public. It's not so popular with with a lot of the special interest groups and with a lot of the folks that are kind of used to the old way of doing business, where the parties were more closed. It was up to the parties to decide who was going to run in November through the primary process. In Washington State, we now have the top two primary that I supported back when I was in the House of Representatives, supported the initiatives, and I think that's going to help moderate things over time.
But people, as you mentioned, don't fall into those classic party lines.
No, most people don't.
They really isn't defined as a Democrat or a Republican anymore because of how much we've changed in the state of Washington.
Yeah, there are many people that are, what would be described as fiscally conservative but socially liberal. Well, where do they fit? Probably somewhere in the middle with the Roadkill Caucus and with most of the state, in my opinion.
And you have a bill that's still alive that would help better manage our water coastal areas in the future.
Yeah, House Bill 5603, and I was just listening to some of the arguments going on in the House of Representatives right now. But yes, coastal advisory groups in Pacific County and Grace Harbor County and on up the Washington coast, giving them more say, not necessarily as much say as say maybe the state agencies, Fish and Wildlife and Ecology, but at least some equal input and an open ear from the agencies willing to listen to these groups that have a little more standing in statute. That's what we're trying to do.
And I thought it was important to talk about in the future how we need to manage the space in the water, so we make sure that when we have the barges working with the recreators, working with the fisheries,
from
everyone has their own space.
From President Obama on down, marine spatial planning is kind of the buzzword, but it's traditional users, whether it's our crab fishermen, whether it's sport fishing through the charter boats off our coast, the shippers, the cruise ships, and then combined with some of the newer uses, folks that are looking at wave energy and wind energy off the coast. The idea is, wait a minute, let's plan ahead. Let's not just have a bunch of competing groups just trying to do whatever they want to out in the ocean, but let's plan ahead. And again, let's give those traditional groups that have been there, specifically crab fishermen, at the very least an equal say in the process.
Wonderful. Thank you. Senator Brian Hatfield. He represents the 19th District in the state of Washington. I'm Dana Cowley, and you're watching Charter Local Edition Northwest.